Hi, I'm Rocket, and welcome to another Musings from Rocket's Cellar. I am going to go through this pretty quickly. I have somebody who not returned, but who gifted me back a 2014 Barbera from Wreckless Blenders. And you can barely see it. Look how beat up this label is. And so I thought, what the heck, I'd do a live tasting with you on this wine. 2014 was a spectacular year. It had super rich characteristics across the board. These deep flavors came across in almost every wine we made. Unlike 2013, which had I'll call it astringency to it. It was a different yield. 2014 had smaller yield but higher flavor profile. So anyway, I thought we'd try this together and see how it goes. Yeah, I'm about to drop into a session with one of my teams, with my main team at where I work, and I was looking for something, because we're all going to try two of the Wreckless wines. We're going to try a Barbera and a Sangiovese during this event, and I was looking for it, and I actually sold out of both of them. So, as part of this event, all the ones, the inventory at my place, and so I was looking, I want a Barbera, and then as I was digging through the cellar, I stumbled across this, and I had two of them. And so this is one of them. And I thought, what the heck, let's take 5 minutes and do a quick musings and see if this is worthwhile, because I might be doing this with some other wines in the future. So let's start with color. So the color of this wine is pretty dark, right? Barbera tends to have kind of some strong mixtures in terms of the colors. Let me make sure I understand what the blend on this is. So it's 95% Barbera and 5% Merlot. So Merlot is going to likely give it that mid-palate, kind of give it a little bit of oomph behind it. And because the Barbera is really bright up front, usually has a really long finish. But sometimes it has a little bit of a hole in the middle. And Merlot often kind of fills that in. And in this case, we believe that 5% filled it in nicely. So let's take a sniff of this. Okay, so it's got some interesting nose to it. Ooh, it's not like super aged, right? 2014, 6 years. It's not like really old. So you're not going to get kind of the musky flavors or the aged wine flavors, but it's got some upfront in your face kind of flavors. Wow. Beautiful. A little bit of cherry. Clean. Nice. Got to do the other nostril, remember? Got to do both nostrils. So let's see how we taste. Wow. Nice structure. Oh my goodness. Wow. So tannins, as I've said in one of the other musings, tannins creates that kind of structure in your mouth, right? It's the dryness, and I always, picture architecture at that point, buildings and lines. And this definitely has some amazing tannins. Wow. Usually the Barbera is not, I won't call it tannin free, because every red wine has some level of tannins, but it's on the lighter side. This is on the medium to medium heavy tannin side. Wow, it's just gorgeous. It is held up. Oh my. Yeah. So, if anyone out there watching this has some 2014 Barbera, and some of you actually might have it in the back. This is beautiful right now. And I would definitely consider opening this up and finishing it. Let me have one more sip and let me tell you some more. So there's that roundness. Okay. So that initial sip had some strong tannins, but the 3-sip rule, right? So that was sip 2. And what's happening is it's less angry on the palate. And angry is not the right word. Harsh isn't the right word either. It's more since the first sip is now kind of coated the mouth, there's this roundness to it, this beautiful mouth feel to it. And I'm sure many of you have encountered wines where it has this beautiful mouth feel. And it fills up your mouth. It doesn't feel like it's this high, tight note in your mouth or dumb and dull and, really kind of sits on your tongue and doesn't do anything. It's got this, it coats your whole mouth. That's good mouth feel. And the second sip has just gorgeous mouth feel. Let's see what the third sip does. Now, I just opened this, by the way. I mean, like literally a few seconds ago. So I'm sure that this will get better as it stays open here. I will say that the first sniffs, the first initial sniffs had a bit of odd flavor in the nose. I was a little taken back by it. It's not acetate or acetone or acetate, which is the nail polish remover, which usually says, this is not a good wine. This was more, it just had this high, tight note in the nose. And given it a few minutes now, as I've sat here, oh yeah, there it is. So I had cherries early, but it had these other kind of subtle influences to it. Actually, not so subtle. Let me just be straight up and say that. Now I'm getting the full flavors of the nose. And that's one of the reasons that you hear, open up and let a wine breathe. I always recommend testing the wine right away because you'll know most of the time if a wine is turned right away. And you see me kind of smirking a little bit because one of the early stories Miss Rocket tells, this was, I don't know, almost 8 years or 10 years before I became a Wreckless Blender. We were at dinner at one of our first dates together, and we go to this restaurant, great restaurant, Port Costa. It's called Bull Valley Inn. And we order a bottle of wine, and the guy comes out, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm sure, good. And Miss Rocket takes a sip and goes, this is not good. And, we call the waiter over, and he's like, well, I don't believe you, blah, blah, blah. Because she was saying it, right? That's the whole, anyway, I'll put that aside for now. But the owner had to come over, and the owner goes, oh, God, yeah, this is bad. And so I get teased by that every so often by Miss Rocket. Here I am, the winemaker, one of the winemakers at Wreckless Blenders, and I say things like, oh, you'll be able to tell right away if it's turned. And I couldn't. But I was young. I was 23, 24 years old. I mean, come on. So anyway, last sip here, and then we'll close this one out. That is spectacular Barbera. I can't even begin to tell you, and I apologize for flaunting this in front of you. But part of this is, hey, these are meant to be consumed right away, right? We make the wines so that you don't have to lay them down. So we're not putting a lot of oak and a lot of superstructure, and they're not huge, heavy tannin wines. We make wines that tend to be approachable early, and they can sit for a little while, and they're fantastic. Oh my goodness. So you can be a little jealous. If you have some of this, I'm a little jealous of you. With that, I'm Rocket. This has been another Musings from Rocket Cellar.